Today, I'm going to talk a little bit more about a really fascinating and innovative new blockchain project that we've been following called Cypherium. Now, this video was sponsored by Cypherium. You can find out more about what they're up to by going to cypherium.io. I've put a link right below underneath this video. This is the third video in a series we've been doing about Cypherium. Really exciting project to follow over the last several months. And we're going to get into a few updates they've had since the last time I talked about the project. We'll delve a little deeper into some technical aspects of how the Cypherium blockchain works. And first, just as a refresher about Cypherium and what they're all about. Basically, centralizing blockchains in many situations has advantages. But in the end, the more you centralize a blockchain, the more you're actually defeating the purpose of what blockchain technology was developed to provide, in some senses. And most importantly, centralization reduces the actual control that's in the hands of users. Cypherium is the first ever public blockchain and smart contract platform to support instant transactions and enterprise-grade throughput, while actually maximizing blockchain scalability and speed without sacrificing that decentralization. And that's their first big feat. And since my last video about Cypherium, the project has made their highly anticipated transition to hot stuff, which is the consensus protocol that's being used by a number of new high-profile blockchain projects, including Facebook's new Libra cryptocurrency. Sky Guo is the CEO of Cypherium, good friends with the author of the original Hot Stuff algorithm paper, Ted Yin. And Cypherium was an early adopter of Hot Stuff, and a lot of other projects are expected to follow. But very differently from what Facebook plans to do with Hot Stuff, Cypherium's goal has always been to use a permissionless, open Hot Stuff consensus, and that's exactly what Cypherium is doing with their mainnet. While Facebook's Hot Stuff implementation is permissioned, the difference here between permissioned and permissionless blockchains is what's at issue. This is dependent on whether someone is able to access a blockchain network as a verifier node. With a permissioned blockchain, the entity has to run the verifier node through its permission grant mode to ensure the network stability without requiring any consideration for security. But in a permissionless blockchain, anyone who meets the tech requirements can run a verifier node. So Ethereum, for example, is a permissionless blockchain. With Ethereum, any miner who finds a qualified nonce value can take part in processing transactions in order to receive mining rewards and transaction fee rewards. And this is why so many people are involved in developing the entire Ethereum ecosystem. There are tons of advantages to using a permissionless paradigm like this. Cypherium was put in place in a version, they've put in place a particular version of Hot Stuff with a dual chain consensus mode permissionless mechanism. The Cypherium team originally considered using proof of stake Hot Stuff implementations, but the way that the Facebook Libra blockchain does it did not appeal to them in the same way. Developers later determined it's not the best decision for the long-term development of the Cypherium blockchain. It can attract hacker attacks. It ultimately wouldn't be in line with Cypherium's vision of being a fully permissionless public blockchain. And while it's possible to turn a blockchain from permissionless to permissioned, it's much more difficult to do the opposite. So Cypherium has done some really interesting things. They've got some very interesting bounties going on, including one where they're crowdsourcing some of their graphic design work to members of the community in return for Cypherium tokens and letting other members of the community vote on the best designs. And I always find it really interesting when projects are able to do this kind of thing, because this in and of itself tells you that a project is large enough and has an online presence that's large enough to successfully source things to the community like this. It's something that many projects wouldn't even be able to do if they wanted, because many projects just don't have enough people following them to even know what they're doing. So I think it's great that Cypherium has had that many people become aware of their project and that they're engaging the community in this way. The community is always growing. They have thousands of Twitter followers at this point. You can follow them at the handle Cypherium Chain. They've got thousands of followers on Facebook. You can follow them there using the same handle. And you can find out a whole lot more about the project. Read the white paper at cypherium.io. That link is down below. Their website also has a link to the Medium blog, which they regularly update. It has posts about the project itself, other things going on in the industry that are tangentially related to the project. Fascinating to read as well. And if you haven't already, check out my first two videos about Cypherium. And again, I'd like to thank Cypherium for partnering with us in this. There are some really interesting, innovative concepts behind what they're doing, turning a lot of heads. And I'm going to continue paying attention to the project and everything that's going on with them in the future.